Shulk and the Minato are, I would say, overall more aesthetically pleasing than in Smash 4, outside of his really awkward facial expressions during the victory animations. Shulk also had some changes to his alternate skins. They now changed Shulk's hair color in addition to his clothing to better represent the other party members from the Xenoblade Chronicles game. Shulk also received a few improvements, but by far the biggest improvement to Shulk might be the decrease in landing leg from aerials. In Smash 4, Shulk had some pretty poor frame data, and while the startup time for most of his moves remain the same, his aerials are phenomenal when mixed with his range and Minato arts. Another noteworthy change or fix are any attacks that hit twice like up air, air slash, and forward smash are now far more consistent in landing the second hit and keeping the opponent trapped for the full duration of the move. It's still not perfect, but it's improved. Before I start getting into Shulk's moveset, frame data, and damage output, I feel like it's necessary to first go over his Minato arts. Shulk's Minato arts are more important to him as a character than Shine is to Fox in Melee. His arts make his character and are omni-important, so I feel like it's better to give a quick overview of them before we move on. I am going to touch on Minato arts a bit more in terms of what's changed and how we can use them when we get to the rest of Shulk's specials later, but for now here's some general information about each art. Jump mode lasts 6 seconds, has a cooldown of 18 seconds, and it increases your jump height, fall speed, and air slash distance while your ground speed is reduced and you take 30% more damage. Speed mode lasts 8 seconds, has a cooldown of 16 seconds, and increases your ground speed, dash length, fall speed, traction, but lowers your jump height and you deal 30% less damage. Shield mode lasts 6 seconds, has a cooldown of 18 seconds, and you take 50% less damage, way less knockback. Your ground speed and air speed are reduced, and you also deal 50% less damage. Buster mode lasts 10 seconds, has a cooldown of 14 seconds, and increases your damage output by 40%. You also take 30% more damage, and the knockback you deal is far less than usual. Smash mode lasts 8 seconds, has a cooldown of 16 seconds, and increases the knockback you deal as well as the knockback you take. You deal 70% less damage in Smash mode. Jab's animation was slightly altered from Smash 4. The jab also now connects a lot more easily into all 3 hits. Jab is generally outclassed by many of Shulk's other attacks, but it's a quick move coming out on frame 5 that can quickly get the opponent away from you if you're in a position where Shulk's other moves would be too slow. Since Shulk is also a bit tall, his jab may not connect with smaller characters or characters laying on the ground, but it can still jab block. Dash attack is a whole 3 frames quicker than it was in Smash 4, however Shulk does not slide as far forward during the animation, meaning the overall range is slightly shorter. Like the blade still has good reach, but not sliding forward means less distance gained over the attack's animation. It has some kill power and range, and it isn't a terrible dash attack, but I feel that using tilts at a dash rather than the dash attack itself are more effective. Forward tilt hasn't changed from Smash 4. It isn't the quickest forward tilt in Smash, but it's very strong and deals a ton of damage. Canceling dash with forward tilt and comboing into forward tilt in Buster mode is a great way to rack up damage before switching into Smash mode to try and secure a KO. Up tilt is an absolutely amazing move in Ultimate. Again, while not very quick, it has improved horizontal range and insane vertical range to help keep opponents in the air, making it even better anti-air than it was in Smash 4. This move easily covers an entire battlefield platform if properly positioned and kills relatively early in Smash mode, so it can be used to harass opponents on platforms as well. One of the best things about up tilt is canceling your dash with it. In speed mode, Shulk can quickly cover the opponent's landing with a dash cancelled up tilt regardless of where they are above the stage. The damage output is quite good as well, and it can combo into itself once or twice at low percent when in Buster mode. Shulk's quickest grounded move is his down tilt coming out on frame 10, with great range making him one of Shulk's primary poking tools. Unfortunately, down tilt doesn't combo, but it's best used to stuff out an opponent's grounded approach. Another use for down tilt is baiting the opponent with a dash cancelled down tilt since it has the least amount of end lag. It isn't very effective at ledge and has trouble 2-framing. Forward smash previously had a Roy zone that didn't connect with opponents close to Shulk's body, but this has been fixed in Ultimate. It's a very laggy move that shouldn't be thrown out aside from comboing, which forward smash is a surprisingly good combo finisher that deals a ton of damage in Buster mode and kills very early whether you're in Smash mode or not. It can be angled upwards or downwards and in fact has more consistency connecting the second hit when angled upwards, so it's recommended you angle the forward smash up when finishing a combo. Angled down forward smash can hit opponents at ledge and 2-frame with good timing, making it a solid move when used properly. Up smash still unfortunately has trouble connecting the second hit unless the opponent is hit with the initial hit on the ground. It has great KO power, but is very laggy and doesn't serve much of a purpose outside of a hard read or catching a ledge jump. Down smash consists of several low profile hits on Shulk's left and right side. This is even more laggy than forward and up smash and is very unsafe given the space between hits is pretty significant. While not recommended, you can use down smash to read neutral or roll get up from ledge, and in buster mode it can break shields. Shulk's standing grab appears to be active on frame 7 and be 36 frames total, while his dash grab appears to come out on frame 9 and is 40 frames total. Forward throw can lead to a tech chase at lower percents and is especially useful in speed mode for that reason. Other than that, it kills slightly earlier than in Smash 4 and is helpful in getting the opponent out of the way and off stage. Back throw is Shulk's strongest throw, dealing the most damage and becoming the best kill throw in the game while in Smash mode. Like forward throw, it can lead to tech chase scenarios and is also good for stage control. If you're looking to rack up damage and can't combo, this is your best throw. Up throw is probably Shulk's worst throw as it doesn't combo into anything, however it can get the opponent into the air, which is never a bad thing for Shulk, given that he can now hunt down opponents in the air with up tilt. Down throw in Smash 4 was an excellent combo throw, and while down throw combos still exist for Shulk, they're much more tight and only work in buster mode, but boy do they work in buster mode. A pretty common throw combo is nair to down throw to angled up forward smash, dealing a ton of damage. Shulk's neutral air is easily the best move in his toolkit, having a minuscule 6 frames of landing lag and covering nearly Shulk's entire body with a massive disjoint. Depending on your fast fall timing, you can cover different approaches and defensive options, since the hitbox starts slightly behind Shulk and coming near full circle behind Shulk again within its 17 active frames. Because it starts behind Shulk, it's also possible to try comboing when facing away from the opponent and covering your back quicker than back air, though with less range. Neutral air also makes for a decent ledge trapping tool because it's so huge and covers neutral getup, jumping, and rolling. And you can easily switch up your ledge trapping option since it only has 6 frames of landing lag. Depending on the active Monado art, neutral air is also a fantastic combo tool that can lead to KOs and edge guarding opponents. Forward air will probably see about as much use as neutral air from Shulk main since it is another fantastic aerial with only 10 frames of landing lag. Unlike neutral air, forward air lasts only a few frames, swiping from top to bottom and has just as much range. Because of this, it can be spammed just as much and is better at threatening opponents. Forward air doesn't combo like neutral air, but it's quite strong and is excellent at edge guarding. This move alone makes Shulk one of the best off-stage edgeguarders in the game because it covers so much space and is incredibly safe when properly spaced. Even on stage in Smash mode, forward air can kill pretty early near the ledge, and if it doesn't, jump mode into fair is an easy switch. Back air is Shulk's farthest reaching aerial, however this hitbox is long and thin, making it a bit less useful than neutral air or forward air to apply pressure. Unfortunately, the hitbox that used to begin in front of Shulk in Smash 4 has been removed, so the only method of attacking is from behind. This isn't to say that back air is a bad move, it still has its uses and is very strong, but it can be tricky to use. Shulk's back air comes out on frame 18, so if the player fast falls too early, the hitbox won't come out. This can be very tricky given the different fall speeds and jump heights between Monado arts. For example, short hop back air is just barely possible in speed mode. If you fast fall or even slightly late on activating the move, it won't come out. Back air has some good use to poke at characters with larger disjoints than Shulk, or to quickly poke at low profile characters in speed mode. Up air received a massive decrease in landing lag, making it a pretty good tool for pressuring opponents above Shulk. It's one of the strongest up airs in Ultimate, killing very early, but only if the opponent manages to stay connected into the second hit. Occasionally the opponent will fall out of the second hit, depending on both characters' momentum. Additionally, you can land the first hit of up air to combo into plenty of Shulk's other moves, however I would advise against approaching with up air unless you're fully confident in landing with it. Down air is a lot like up air, only, well, downwards. It's very strong and can spike, though the spike is somewhat difficult to land and sometimes you'll find the opponent being launched horizontally. Like up air, the first hit can combo into many of Shulk's moves as well, though I personally found this one harder to predict where the opponent's going to be positioned after the first hit. With up air, the opponent almost always pops behind Shulk, but with down air, it's usually in front, but is a little more random depending on momentum and positioning. Well, I'm glad we briefly went over Monado arts earlier, but there's still a lot to go over. So now that we know what Shulk's arts are and how they affect him, it's time to go into some key changes the Monado arts have and the strategies involved with them. We've seen now that Shulk has what is called the Monado Wheel, an in-game menu where you can quickly select Monado arts while holding B and a direction and then releasing the B button to activate that art. You can still cycle through Monado arts by pressing B and deactivate arts by pressing B 3 times in quick succession. The Monado wheel, or dial as some call it, also displays the cooldown for each Monado art, and there's a handy little meter near your percent showing how much longer the current active art will last. Each Monado art has varying active times and cooldowns as we saw previously, which is very important to keep in mind. Shulk's arts overall don't last as long as they did in Smash 4 and have longer cooldowns. But this is to compensate for just how big the payoffs are. Mind you, the penalties are also just as strong. Another massive improvement to Monado arts and a key element to Shulk's gameplay is that you can select and activate Monado arts while in hit stun. Jump mode is best used to either recover when far off stage or to edgeguard, since it allows Shulk to go deep off stage to pressure the opponent. This basically makes Shulk the best offstage edgeguarder in the game, and jump art is also one of Shulk's only methods of escaping when in disadvantage, by activating jump mode and hit stun to escape combos. Don't be like me and accidentally activate jump early or before the opponent is off stage, because it doesn't have much use in neutral, since it increases your damage taken and is impossible to spam neutral air or forward air within neutral. Speed mode might be Shulk's best art because it turns him into a combo machine. Because of the lowered jump height and increase in fall speed, Shulk can go from in the air to the ground in a blink of an eye, allowing for very quick aerials and insane pressure and an even crazier dash dance game. Keep in mind you won't be dealing nearly as much damage in speed mode, and it requires a lot of patience and practice to get the hang of, but soon enough you'll be zooming around stage, juggling with up tilt and neutral air. Shield mode makes Shulk straight up just impossible to kill. He receives almost no knockback, and hit stun is also mildly decreased, making this Shulk's only other option in disadvantage. You can activate shield mode and hit stun to survive kill confirms and escape combos, but keep in mind you're also much more slow and can't do a whole lot outside of that. Chances are you'll want to quickly activate shield mode and then deactivate it. Shield mode also decreases its duration with every hit that you take. Buster mode is the art with the biggest rewards and the biggest penalties. Shulk can dish out massive damage, but also receives massive damage. Essentially, if you're going to go into Buster mode, make sure you have your bread and butter combos down and are confident that you can get in on your opponent. At worst, you'll deal little damage or deactivate Buster if you get caught in a combo, and at best, you'll deal enough damage in the 10 seconds it lasts to get the opponent in kill percent. And lastly, what better way to follow up with Buster than Smash mode? It has amazing kill power, and with the right moves can kill as early as 60% or even set up for edgeguarding if it doesn't KO. Like Buster though, the downsides are quite risky. Shulk himself becomes much easier to kill, so it's an all or nothing art when you're at high percent, or a quick way to take a stock while you're at low percent. Backslash was nearly useless in Smash 4, but received some buffs that make it an actually pretty good move. First and foremost, Backslash deals more damage against an opponent's back, as the name implies. Since opponents now stay facing the same direction when being launched, it's possible to follow up with Backslash to deal the maximum amount of damage and KO. There isn't a ton of hit stun in Smash Ultimate, so this may be difficult to pull off, but it is certainly possible after certain attacks and combo strings. The biggest and best change to Backslash is that it can now be used as a recovery tool. When used high enough in the air, roughly double jump height, Shulk will snap to ledge with Backslash. This is an amazing recovery tool because it is nearly unpunishable. It has so much range and can contest with many offstage approaches, including projectiles. The best counter to a Backslash recovering Shulk is, funnily enough, a counter. Shulk's Air Slash received a few changes, some good, some bad. A positive change is that the first hit now chains into the second hit of Air Slash far better, making it a better and more consistent kill move. This can also be used as a risky edgeguard and for style points, or as an out of shield option coming out on frame 10. Unfortunately though, Air Slash doesn't go nearly as far forward with the second hit and has less aerial drift after the move. It's more difficult to snap to ledge unless timing the first hit of Air Slash towards the end of your move as well. It has pretty good range when rising up though, so it can hit someone like Ness charging Yo-Yo over the ledge. Shulk's vision is sadly nerfed. Not that it was an amazing move in the first place, but the things that made it a decent counter are gone. It's important to note that there are two types of vision counters. Regular counter causes Shulk to jump back and swing forward with a very delayed hit that often misses the opponent. If it does connect, it knocks the opponent forward. The second type of counter is a dash vision, which is performed by holding towards the opponent when they attack and the hit connects. With this counter, Shulk dashes forward quickly and is much more consistent at connecting the hit, and it sends the opponent behind Shulk. Vision was nerfed overall and no longer lasts ridiculously as long as it did in Smash 4, and it no longer hits opponents who are shielding. People have been saying that Peach is currently the most technical character, and I've gone on record saying I think Inkling might be the most technical character, though I now rescind that comment. But I firmly now believe that Shulk is the most technical character in Ultimate. There's just so much tech involved in swapping Monado arts between buffer deactivation, Monado ledge dashing, dial storage, it's insane. If this tech wasn't enough, Shulk players also need to adapt to the Monado arts themselves and how they affect Shulk's speed, fall speed, knockback, everything. If you looked in the dictionary for risk versus reward, you'd find a picture of Shulk. Like Pokemon Trainer, you can switch up his playstyle, of course to a lesser extent, but you still can. Shulk excels in outspacing the opponent and maintaining stage control because of his range. However, these tools are not very quick and leave him very vulnerable in disadvantage. To put it bluntly, Shulk is very good in advantage, but very poor in disadvantage. A lot of the time, Shulk can spam neutral air or forward air to just control space and bait the opponent, and it's very hard to challenge unless your character also has a disjoint. Shulk does have the tools to deal with projectiles like jump and speed mode, but they're limited and on cooldown, so I also feel like Shulk may struggle against some projectile heavy characters. I personally believe that Shulk is at the very least high tier, and it seems like plenty of other top players agree, but I don't think we'll see it right away. Like I mentioned before, he's a very technically demanding character that requires a ton of practice and lab time. It's going to take some time and dedication before we see any top Shulk players, at least that's how I feel. I'm overall very impressed and very happy with how Shulk was handled in Ultimate. He's the most entertaining sword character to watch, and I feel like he'll only get better with time, because I truly believe there's a lot of potential here. Also, if you haven't played Xenoblade Chronicles, you totally should, and maybe even check out the sequel.